Am I audible? Can like someone type yes if I'm audible? Okay. Yeah, so today we'll be having the third discussion in this theoretical ML discussions. So we'll be continuing from the point where we left last time, which will be the pack learning model, and we'll deal with one simple example to see what exactly is going on in this model. And and uh, and uh, later I'll just give one or two examples which you can try on your own later. So first I'll revise some stuff like in case someone has forgotten it. Uh, so the basic definitions which will again require in this part also. So it's better if we just go through it once. So I'll quickly go to it. So an example is an object which you're trying to classify, spam. In spam filtering, we classify emails whether it's a spam or not. Okay, and and we give labels. Labels are basically whether the mail is a spam or not spam. And in our case, since we are dealing mathematically, we try to assign labels as one or zero. Okay, and yeah, so basically we assume that given a like there's a mapping from examples to labels, and we call that mapping as concept. So concept is like a function which, given an example, maps it to either 0 or 1, and collection of such concepts is called concept class. Okay, just remember this part, so it's called concept class. So we'll assume as usual that we are getting examples for that have been labeled by some unknown concept, but it is from a known concept class. So that is the assumption we'll be following right now. Okay. So as I to and this was just I introduced last week for the first years in case they don't know what probability distribution is. So it is like a curve, and area under the curve sort of gives us an idea of about the probability. Okay. So if yeah, so I hope you remember it from the last time. Okay, so let me like take you through the pack learning model definition again. Uh, it's better if we go through it once more, and then I'll take you to the main example which we'll be dealing with. Okay, so so suppose C and H are two concept classes. So as I told, concept classes are collection of functions, you can say, which are the functions are used to label the examples. So C is the known class from where the labels are coming, and we are sort of trying to sort of like copy it or like replicate the class C using a class H, like nearby replication, not exactly. Uh, so what do we mean by C is PAC, packed learnable by H? It's pretty simple. So first there should exist an algorithm such that for any concept in the concept class C, and for any two constants, say epsilon and delta greater than 0, so we have a distribution D over examples X. So by distribution I mean a distribution of this sort. So you can say IQ is an distribution here. So the probability that the IQ is between 120 and 140 is the area under this curve. So if we randomly take an person, the probability that the IQ will lie between 120 and 140 is 0.08. So if we mean a distribution of this sort on the set of examples, and we randomly pick up m examples. M is a polynomial in 1 by epsilon and 1 by delta from this distribution D. So we pick up randomly, and we see what labels have been assigned to this training set. So this will be our training set. Okay, and then based on this examples which we have seen here and the labels which have been assigned, we sort of propose a function, say h. Uh, so h will try to assign labels for future incoming examples. Okay, so we'll try to analyze the performance of h in this fashion. Uh, First, uh, the error of h. Error of h, I mean that the probability that h of x is not equal to c of x. Okay, so this probability should be less than epsilon. Okay, this inequality should hold, and probability that this inequality is being held is at least 1 minus delta. Okay, so it might not be possible for us to restrict the probability by epsilon every time for any possible set of examples which we take from D. But for like most of the times, by most of the times I mean with probability at least 1 minus delta, this equation will hold. So that's what we are desiring here. Okay, and obviously you can see the probability is entirely dependent on this set S. If our A is a deterministic algorithm, if A is randomized, then we'll incorporate that. But for now, we'll only look at the deterministic algorithm. So you can see this probability is complete. This probability is completely dependent on this set S. So I hope the setting is clear. It will be more clear if I take you through one example.
Arnav,
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So, isn't there any bound on the efficiency of it? Like it sees few examples,
Yeah.
but nothing seems to stop it from running an expensive computation on the examples.
Yeah. There is no as such like limitation on how, like, what you will do with these examples. Like it can do anything with the examples, but it should take only these many examples.
Okay.
Yeah. So the problem which we'll be looking at is this. Suppose our sample space is the real numbers. So we are trying to label the real numbers. Okay. So the concept might be that for any real number which is greater than equal to some constant kc, the labeled one, and rest of the real numbers are labeled 0. Okay, so it means that in this fashion we are going to the numbers have been labeled 1 or 0. So we are trying to propose some algorithm which will label the numbers 1 or 0 and try to satisfy these conditions here. Okay, and that's what we'll be trying to prove here. Okay, so so here the function which we'll be proposing, h, will be a function similar to this type. Like we'll propose a function, say we'll propose a function where if a number is greater than or equal to some constant k, then we'll label it as 1, and if it is less than k, we'll label it as 0, and we'll look at the efficiency of it. Obviously k and kc need not be equal because we are trying to get a nearby fix, not the exact fix. Actually, getting the exact fix is not possible, as you know. Like I can give any adversarial example and you cannot get the exact fix. So let's see how what our algorithm is. So algorithm is pretty much simple. So you sample m examples which are labeled. Okay, so you what is this m, will decide it later, but for now let us keep it as m. So from the training set, we'll see the training set which contains m labeled examples, which are of the form xi comma cxi. Like cxi is the label which is being assigned to the real number, so xi belongs to the real number. And then and then we'll define these two numbers where x minus is uh, okay, just a minor error here. Just I'll fix it. I'll just verbally fix it. Later in the slides, I'll fix it. So this part is fine actually. The maximum xi such that its label is 0. That is x minus, and here it should be minimum actually. Uh, yeah, just 1 second. I'll fix it in a minute. Just a second. Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. Uh, x minus is the maximum, like the highest value among the training examples which we got, which were labeled as 0. Okay, and x plus is and x plus is the minimum value which was labeled as 1. Okay, so this is x minus and this is x plus, and what the algorithm will do, algorithm will pick up some number arbitrarily between this open interval, and it will propose an algorithm like if the number is greater than kh, then we label it as 1, and otherwise we'll label it as 0. So this is how the algorithm is working, and like intuitively it feels right, because obviously any number which is greater than x plus has to be labeled 1, and any number which is labeled which is less than x minus has to be labeled 0. That's from the definition, and like it's obvious. So there is an ambiguity in this particular range, so we'll just randomly choose one value, kh. We can anyway, like you can choose it as you wish, the analysis won't be affected by it. So you'll choose a random any value between this range, and then if your real number has value more than kh, then you will label it as 1, otherwise you will label it as 0. So this is the algorithm. So algorithm is pretty much simple.
Hello, I
Yeah,
have one doubt. Like,
yeah.
what if all the values are 0 or all the values are 1? Then
Uh, okay. I think okay. That's a very good question actually. Okay. Okay. Okay.
we are assuming that at least means there are two distinct things. Like, it is not completely empty. Like, we are assuming something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So in that case also, you can do this thing. It's not a big issue. So so you just what you can do is, suppose you got everything as 0. Okay. So
Yes.
if you got everything as 0, then just choose a number which is you can say like you can do like this, like if you have x minus. Okay, if you will have x minus, so whatever number is greater than x minus, output it as 1, and whatever, and rest of them you can output it as 0. And why it will work, I'll just show you in the analysis, so you'll get it why it's working actually, why it will work in your exam, like your claim. Like if everything
Okay.
comes 0 also, it's not an issue actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why here you can see, right, like you can choose arbitrarily any value. So you can you can choose like you can give a function such that if it is greater than x minus, then it's 1, and if it is less than or equal to x minus, it's 0. So anyway it will be fine actually. So that's why arbitrarily you can choose. If x plus does not exist, then you can choose this thing. So it's a very good question actually. Okay, so let us go to the analysis. So first we'll assume that this the distribution is smooth. By smooth I mean like it should be smooth like this. Like at one particular point there shouldn't be any spike. So I hope what you get by the meaning of smooth. Uh, those who took prop stat course, they'll easily get what I mean by smooth. Smooth. If someone doesn't know what do I mean by smooth, it means that like probability of say here, say probability of IQ is equal to 120. That value should be zero actually. So probability of exact value is zero, but a probability within a range is some value actually, like area under the curve. So area under the curve at this point is like negligible. So that's why we like theoretically it's zero. So that's what I mean by smooth. Okay. So let us define some constants. So Kc plus is the maximum value k such that I'll explain what this term means. This term is less than equal to epsilon. It means that this expression means that suppose if we pick any number randomly, probability that the number will lie in this range, in this interval kc comma k, is at most epsilon. So that's what I mean by this expression. So uh, so kc plus is maximum of such k actually, and similarly we are defining kc minus such that minimum k such that probability that any number chosen at random lies in this interval k comma kc is less than equal to epsilon. Okay, so this is what the two constants mean. I'll just show one pictorial example also. And these are the respective like you can say ranges. So kc comma kc plus 1 is defined as r plus, and kc minus comma kc is defined as r minus. So just some simple basic definition, and like you can pictorial you can see this thing, like if this is my distribution here and this is my kc, so the area under this curve is epsilon. So this is kc plus, and if you go towards left side, the area under this curve is again epsilon, and this is kc minus. So this is how I am defining the constants. Okay. Okay. So okay. So first thing, if you observe that if my kh lies between kc minus and this kc plus actually here, I missed the plus sign. Just a second, it's a small fix. Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. So if we suppose here the kh value which we are outputting, which is being given by the algorithm, if it lies between kc minus and kc plus, then with probability no more than epsilon will misclassify an example. So let me go through the statement properly using this pictorial representation. Okay, so what I mean exactly is that suppose the value which we are giving us like kh, where if our number is greater than kh, then we are labeling it as 1, and if my number is less than kh, we are labeling it as 0. Suppose it comes in this particular range. Okay, suppose it comes in this particular range between kc minus and kc plus. So I am telling that with probability at most epsilon, I'll be giving wrong labelings. Why? Let me explain you. So suppose my kh lies somewhere here. Okay, somewhere here between kc minus and kc and near to kc minus. Suppose here. So so my answer will be wrong only if the incoming example is in this range. Okay, because according to my algorithm, I will be labeling this range also has 1. So if and only if my examples which I have to label are coming in this range, then only I'll make a mistake. So what is the probability that the examples will be coming from this range? It's epsilon, because that's the way we chose the value of kc minus. Okay, and similarly, suppose kh lies here. Okay, here. So then I'll make a mistake in this if number comes between this range, because my kh is here. So any number to its left will be labeled 0. So any number in this range will be labeled 0. But what is the probability that the number is from this range? It is at most epsilon, because again of the way we have chosen kc plus. So that's why if we can guarantee that kc minus like kh lies between kc minus and kc plus, then with probability at most epsilon we'll make a mistake. So I hope this particular line is clear. So I hope this particular line is clear. Okay. So let us define some events. So if kh is more than kc plus, then we define that event as b plus. So by that I mean, if kh comes in this range, like after kc plus, we define it as b plus. And similarly, if kh comes before kc minus in this range, we define it as b minus. So as we did here. Okay. So obviously this b plus will occur if there is no training example xi which is belonging to R plus. Okay. So if there is no example from this particular area, then then we'll get b plus, like assuming that the label is 1, I mean. So so as the way we have chosen k plus, yeah, so yeah, just a second. Just a second. Just 1 second. I'm just looking at one. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Just this was one small you can say typing error. You can say. So. Okay. Just the thing which I wanted to say was like. We know that our like suppose if we choose an example at random, then the probability that it will lie in this range is epsilon, because of the way we have chosen the constants. So so the probability this you can assume it to be equal. Actually, I'll fix the slides properly. So okay, or I'll interpret in a different way, but for now you can assume it to be equal. So I'll just tell the crux which I want to say. The thing which I want to say is the probability that an example won't be in this range, in this range kc comma kc plus 1 is 1 minus epsilon. Okay. So so that's what the probability is. It's easy. Like if the probability of lying in this range is epsilon, then the probability of lying in this range should be at most 1 minus epsilon actually. So that's what I wanted to mean here. So it should so it's clear why the probability that a number will be in this range, it should be 1 minus epsilon. It's because of the area under the curve. Okay. So probability that the number lies after kc plus 1 is 1 minus epsilon. And when will this event b plus occur? This event b plus will occur if none of the training examples lie in this range. Like all the training examples lie after kc plus 1. Then only kh will lie after kc plus. Because kh was the like you can say so kh is actually like you can say less than x plus actually. So like what exactly I want to say is that okay, just one second. Like the thing which I want to say exactly is that if by mistake like one of the example comes in this range kc and kc plus, then obviously my kh value will be less than that particular example. So for b plus to happen, none of the examples should lie in this particular range, and for that we'll just multiply the probabilities because because all the examples are independent of each other. So that's why we have this thing here, that because all the training examples are independent, the probability that none of the m examples are in the range r plus, by r plus I mean kc and kc plus 1 in this range, it's less than equal to 1 minus epsilon to the power m. So I hope this is clear. Like because of this typo I got confused. So but I hope it's clear like what I want to convey. So this basically, this b plus event is occurring with probability 1 minus epsilon to the power m. And basic thing, we have this inequality which is 1 minus x is less than equal to e to the power minus x. So we can say that the probability of b plus is less than or equal to e to the power minus m epsilon. So this probability that this event occurs is upper bounded by this thing actually. And you can give a similar argument as to why this b minus event is upper bounded by this particular expression here. So it's a similar analysis, just symmetric as you can observe. So you can see clearly that if neither b minus nor b plus occur, then we'll be satisfying this first point here. We'll be definitely satisfying this first point if none of the b plus and b minus occur. And if this is satisfied, then I showed the fact that we are not going to do a mistake by more than a probability of epsilon. So this point I showed, and the probability that this event occurs, like my kh lies between these two values, is basically the event where neither b minus nor b plus occurs. So you can see why, like both are quite like both are same basically. So if any one of them occurs, then we are at loss. So let's see with what probability like either any one of them occurs. So probability that either b plus or b minus occurs is less than probability that b plus occurs plus probability that b minus occurs. So this is just union bound, like p a union b is less than equal to p of a plus p of b. So that's the union bound, and just we can add these both. So we'll get 2 e to the power minus m epsilon. So 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 this particular condition will be satisfied with probability at least 1 minus 2 e to the power minus m epsilon. So that's pretty much clear, because like if this is occurring with at most this expression, then this will, the probability that neither b minus nor b plus occur is at least 1 minus 2 times e to the power minus m epsilon. and and with this probability, we can say that the error of our classification is less than epsilon. So by error I mean this error actually, here, this error. And you can, I guess you get why we are getting that thing actually. It's because of this point, like with probability 1 minus delta will be satisfying this condition, and if we are satisfying this condition, then we'll be misclassifying our example with probability at most epsilon. So we are, which is our error. So our error is upper bounded by epsilon. So this particular example, this particular condition is being satisfied. And second, yeah. So that particular condition will be satisfied if you substitute m is equal to this value. So if you substitute this value, then this will turn out to be 1 minus delta. You can just see, like, substitute this thing here, delta gets cancelled, minus of ln 2 by delta becomes delta by 2 here, this particular expression, and 2 into delta by 2 is delta. So just substitute this, you'll end up with 1 minus delta. So in that case you will be satisfying this equation as we desire to. And as you can see, m is a polynomial in 1 by epsilon and 1 by delta. So we satisfy all the conditions here, like we should have polynomial and we should have this thing actually. So we are satisfying each and every example here. So so that means that we can learn this setting using this packed learning model. So that's what we showed here. So does anyone have any query actually? Like in middle something might have been confusing. So in case anyone has any query, they can ask. So if not, then I'll just like you can, like, these are just, you can try it on your own. So these are like similar type of examples. You can try it later. Just I'll introduce the example and you can try. So earlier we saw that if Kc, like if the example which we are getting is more than Kc, we'll label it as 1, and if it is less than Kc, we'll label it as 0. So now we'll look at a little bit different setting where my concept class is intervals actually. What it means that, suppose you take this interval 0, 1. So if my number lies in this interval, then only I'll label it as 1, and if my number doesn't lie in this interval, I label it as 0. So that's how I'll be labeling the stuff actually. So you can do the similar analysis and you can get a packed learning model. You can try it, it will be a fun activity. And similar stuff will be for a 2D plane, like if we have a rectangle, say, rectangle says at whose corner points are 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1 and 0, 1. So if a point lies in the rectangle, then we'll classify it as 1. And if the point doesn't lie in the rectangle, we'll classify it as 0 actually. So that's how we'll be classifying, and even this can be and in this case also we can find a packed learning model. So so just to give you an intuition why this model is important, because you might have, like, as if you go here, so every example might have different attributes actually. So say in x-axis you will have one attribute, in y-axis you will have one attribute. So like a nice example would be Okay, so we want to classify whether a person is at a risk of uh, like at a very high risk of getting heart attack or not. So we'll list attributes in the axis, like on x-axis it's the person age, and on the y-axis it's the person blood pressure. So if in a particular rectangle, if a person lies, then only it will get heart attack, and if it doesn't lie in that particular rectangle, it won't get an heart attack. So if we proceed assuming this type of setting in our mind, then using machine learning algorithm, we can classify the patients, like whether they have high risk of BP and low risk of BP. And just for the sake of explanation, it's just 2D. It can go multivariation, like multiple attributes, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like then the model becomes more and more sophisticated. So that's what is the like very good advantage of this model, and plus we are able to give some kind of guarantee here, like the guarantee that okay, this thing will happen. So so that's what is being shown here. So if anyone has any query, they can ask me, like otherwise we can end the meeting here. So does anyone has any query? Like if everything is fine, then we can end our meeting here.